At 10:16 p.m., Hannah Brooks called her younger brother and left a voicemail that would later become the center of an entire investigation. At first, nothing sounded unusual. Her voice was calm, almost tired. "Hey, I'm probably overthinking this, but call me when you wake up." A short pause followed. Then she laughed quietly to herself. "I think somebody's been outside my apartment for the last hour." Another pause, longer this time, and then her voice changed completely. "You know what? Never mind. I'm sure it's nothing." For the next 3 seconds, only silence could be heard on the recording. Then came a sound investigators would replay hundreds of times. 3 slow knocks, not on a door, on glass. And then the voicemail ended. By morning, Hannah Brooks had disappeared. No emergency call was ever made, no confirmed witness saw her leave, and no one has been able to explain what happened inside apartment 14C that night. Hannah Brooks was 26 years old. She lived alone in Westfield Heights, a quiet apartment complex outside Portland, Oregon. She worked remotely for a healthcare billing company. Most of her life happened online, which made what happened afterward even more disturbing, because after 10:16 p.m. that night, Hannah Brooks disappeared not only physically, but digitally too. No logins, no banking activity, no location signals, nothing. It was as if her entire existence had stopped at the exact moment that voicemail ended. Friends described Hannah as cautious, not fearful, just careful. She double-checked locks, avoided strangers, never walked alone late at night, and she never ignored unusual behavior around her apartment, which is why investigators took the voicemail seriously almost immediately. The timeline began earlier that evening. At 7:42 p.m., Hannah ordered takeout from a local restaurant. Delivery footage later confirmed she answered the door normally. Nothing appeared wrong. At 8:11 p.m., she texted a coworker about a project deadline. Again, completely normal. But around 9:03 p.m., things began to change. Neighbors later reported hearing footsteps in the hallway outside her apartment. Not loud, not aggressive, just slow pacing back and forth. At the time, nobody thought much about it. Apartment buildings or noisy places. But one neighbor later remembered something unusual. The footsteps never seemed to leave. At 9:47 p.m., Hannah searched online. How to know if someone is watching your apartment. 10 minutes later, can apartment cameras record hallway audio? Then, at 10:02 p.m., what to do if someone won't leave outside your door? Investigators would later say those searches revealed something important. Hannah was not imagining random fear. Something had already frightened her before the voicemail happened. And then came the voicemail itself. Detectives later enhanced the audio recording. The 3 knocks heard at the end became one of the most discussed pieces of evidence in the entire case, because the sound was strange, too hollow to be a door, too close to the microphone to come from outside the building. Audio experts believed the sound came from Hannah's apartment window, which made no sense. She lived on the 4th floor, no fire escape outside, no balcony access, nothing, just a sealed window facing the parking lot below. And yet, someone or something appeared to knock directly against the glass. Investigators searched the apartment the next morning. At first glance, nothing seemed disturbed. The television was still on. A half-finished cup of tea sat near the couch. Her laptop remained open on the kitchen counter. But then, detectives noticed something unsettling. The apartment door was locked from the inside. No signs of forced entry, no damaged locks, no open windows, nothing suggesting anyone had entered or left. Yet Hannah Brooks was nowhere inside. The bathroom was empty. The closets were empty. Even the maintenance crawl space behind the laundry unit was checked. Nothing. It was as if she had disappeared from a locked room. Then investigators discovered another detail. Hannah's phone was still inside the apartment, placed carefully on her bedside table, charging. But the voicemail had been sent from that same phone only hours earlier, which meant one thing. If Hannah left the apartment, she left without the single thing most people never leave behind: their phone. That realization changed the investigation completely, because people running away usually take essentials: wallet, keys, phone. Hannah left all three behind. Voluntary disappearance became unlikely almost immediately. And then came the security footage. The apartment complex had hallway cameras on every floor. Detectives reviewed nearly 12 hours of footage. No one suspicious was seen entering her hallway. No unknown visitors. No sign of Hannah leaving. Nothing. Until investigators noticed. And beneath it, nothing. No explanation. No second sentence. Just those 7 words sitting alone on the screen. "He knows I can hear him outside." Investigators would later debate that line for years, because it implied something terrifying. Hannah didn't believe someone was trying to enter. She believed someone already knew she was aware of them. And that changes fear completely. Fear becomes personal once the other side knows you're watching too. The investigation expanded quickly after the note was discovered. Detectives began reconstructing every hour of Hannah's final week. At first, nothing unusual appeared. Work meetings, grocery purchases, phone calls with family, streaming history. Everything looked painfully normal, but buried inside her search history was one detail investigators almost missed. 3 nights before her disappearance, Hannah searched. Can someone hear through apartment vents? Then another search. Voices coming through walls at night. Police initially assumed anxiety, stress, lack of sleep, but co-workers later described something different. Hannah had recently started complaining about noises after midnight. Not loud noises, quiet ones, movement, soft tapping sounds, occasional footsteps outside her bedroom wall. One co-worker remembered Hannah joking during a video call, "I swear, someone's learning my schedule better than I know it myself." At the time, everyone laughed. After she vanished, nobody did. Forensic teams returned to apartment 14C for a second search. This time, they focused less on forced entry and more on hidden access points. Maintenance blueprints revealed something unusual about the building design. Behind the bathroom wall of Hannah's unit ran a narrow maintenance corridor used decades earlier for plumbing repairs. The passage had supposedly been sealed years ago, but when investigators checked the access hatch in the basement, the lock had fresh scratches around it. Not enough to prove entry, but enough to raise concern. The corridor itself was claustrophobic, dark, barely wide enough for a person to move through comfortably. Dust covered most surfaces untouched, except for one section. Near the wall, behind Hannah's bedroom, a long disturbance stretched through the dust, as if someone had crawled through recently. The discovery never became public immediately. Authorities feared panic among residents, because if someone had used those corridors, it meant they could move between walls unnoticed. And suddenly, Hannah's searches about noises through walls no longer sounded paranoid. They sounded observational. Then came the building's internet router logs. At exactly 10:11 p.m., 5 minutes before the voicemail, an unknown device briefly connected to Hannah's Wi-Fi network, only for 43 seconds, then disappeared. Investigators could never identify the device. No registered owner, no matching hardware address in criminal databases. Nothing. But what disturbed analysts most was the signal strength. The device had been extremely close to Hannah's apartment, possibly inside it. News coverage exploded after that detail leaked online. People became obsessed with the case. Forums dissected every second of the voicemail. Thousands listened to the knocking sounds, trying to identify them. Some believed the knocks formed a pattern. Others claimed a second voice could be heard underneath Hannah's breathing. Audio experts disagreed constantly, but one thing everyone agreed on. Hannah sounded genuinely afraid near the end. Not startled, not surprised, afraid, like someone trying very hard not to panic. Then investigators discovered another voicemail, deleted from Hannah's phone but partially recoverable. This one was never sent. The recording lasted only 22 seconds. At first, only breathing could be heard. Fast breathing. Uneven. Then Hannah whispered something barely audible. "He's inside." A loud movement followed, like furniture scraping suddenly across the floor. Then silence. The recording cut off before anything else could be heard. Police never released that audio publicly, but details leaked anyway, and public fear intensified immediately, because now the timeline suggested something horrifying. Whatever happened may have begun before the final voicemail was ever sent. Residents in the apartment complex began moving out, especially tenants living on Hannah's floor. Some claimed they started hearing noises too. Others reported unexplained knocking late at night. Management dismissed the reports publicly, but occupancy in the building dropped nearly 30% within months. Apartment 14C remained empty. Nobody wanted it, even after renovations, even after repainting. Something about the case lingered there. Then came the witness that changed everything. 4 months after Hannah disappeared, a rideshare driver contacted investigators. He claimed that around midnight the night Hannah vanished, he picked up a passenger less than 2 miles from her apartment complex, a woman matching Hannah's description. According to the driver, she appeared terrified, not injured, not crying, just extremely focused. He remembered her because she repeatedly looked behind the car during the ride, as if expecting someone to follow. Investigators asked the most obvious question immediately. Where did he take her? The driver answered, Union Station, downtown Portland. But security footage from Union Station never showed Hannah arriving. Not entering, not exiting, nothing. And the driver's dashcam footage had automatically overwritten after 30 days. No proof remained, only his statement, which meant investigators could neither confirm nor disprove it. But then the driver revealed one final detail. Something Hannah allegedly said before leaving the car. A sentence investigators would never fully explain. He kept talking through the walls. Theories exploded after that interview became public. Some believed Hannah had been stalked for weeks through the maintenance corridors. Others believed someone inside the building had become obsessed with her routines. A smaller group believed Hannah suffered psychological deterioration from isolation. But investigators struggled with that theory, because too many physical details remained unexplained. The hallway camera distortion, the unknown Wi-Fi device, the disturbed dust in the corridor, the knocking on the window 4 floors above ground. None of it fit neatly into paranoia alone. Then, nearly a year after the disappearance, something appeared online. An anonymous account uploaded a 12-second audio clip to a small discussion forum dedicated to unsolved cases. The title read, "She Was Right." Most users initially believed it was fake, until investigators heard it. The audio quality was terrible, distorted, but one voice was immediately recognizable: Hannah Brooks. The clip began with static, then Hannah whispering, "Please stop." A second voice answered quietly, too distorted to identify clearly. Then Hannah again, "I told you not to come back." And then came a sound that froze investigators instantly. 3 slow knocks, the exact same knocks from the original voicemail, same spacing, same rhythm. Then the clip ended. The anonymous account disappeared 20 minutes later. Authorities traced the upload through multiple VPN layers. No source was ever identified, and no one has explained how the uploader obtained unreleased audio connected to an active missing persons investigation. Years have passed since Hannah Brooks vanished. No confirmed sightings have ever been verified. No body has ever been found. No arrests were made. Apartment 14C was eventually renovated completely. New flooring, new walls, new wiring. But tenants still rarely stay long in that unit. Some leave quietly after weeks. Others complain about strange sounds late at night. Most refuse interviews afterward. Today, Hannah Brooks remains officially classified as missing. But among investigators who worked the case, many privately believe someone was inside that apartment long before Hannah realized it. Learning her schedule, watching quietly, listening through walls, waiting, because sometimes the most frightening thing about a disappearance is not the moment someone vanishes. It is the possibility that the event began long before anyone noticed. And somewhere inside old evidence archives, Hannah's final voicemail still exists. 10 seconds of ordinary conversation, 3 seconds of silence, and 3 slow knocks against the glass. A sound no one has ever fully explained,